In Latvia, good news is now that you effectively have the choice between only two of these. You can be either one self-employed entity, or two, you can have a limited liability company, or the LLC, which will be this further down called as in LLC in the presentation, and or SIA, which is the same for Latvian. And you can see SIA mostly everywhere. And this is the only choice you do have, because the rest of the forms are similar to the self-employed. If you are Googling around and you see the individual merchant or this individualized commerçant, then that one is the same as self-employed entity, but a big self-employed entity, and you must register it if your turnover is about more than 200,000 euros per year. But and I don't know anyone who hasn't just registered an LLC in that case. Or if you're registering an NGO to start, yes, you can also do your social business as an NGO, but then you cannot generate profit, and all of the money which you can take out of the company to spend is only salary, and that is 43% in taxes, which is high. Or the last one, it's too heavy when to start up, because the joint stock company, that would be an option, but if you're just starting up a company, joint stock company is not an option. And in red, be very careful not to mix these two types of choice between commercial activity registration and tax forms, because these are just two. So the self-employed, the most important thing which you have to get into account is that if you register for self-employed, it is unlimited liability, which means that if I sue you for damages and win, then all your personal belongings will also be put as a collateral to get me my money, which is the number one reason why many people decide to go for LLC straight away. Then we will talk about taxes, but if you don't optimize the self-employed taxes, they are higher than at the companies. Yes, it is easy to register and liquidate, but you shouldn't note the registration and liquidation process just as your only thing of registering, because you can test easy, which is good. You can test with self-employed your business ideas, but if you are doing more serious things, then you must register the company, because on the other hand, the LLC, it is limited liability. If I sue you for damages and win, and you cannot prove that you have been stealing from the company as a manager, and usually no one is, then it is limited liability. You just close the company and that's it. You keep your own real estate, your cars, your assets, or everything. Then the LLC is effectively lower taxes. Well, the best taxes there is, and I will show the tax forms as well, how they look. And it is relatively easy to register and harder to liquidate. But if you have proven that you are running a business and you start a business, then having an LLC company in Latvia is very much mandatory, because the data is here as well. In Latvia, there's about 11,000 something, maybe 10,000 companies registered per year, which is and only 5.8% of them are the individual commerçants, which is the other form, but it is, if you are looking around for this individual merchant form, that it has been gone out of fashion, to say, because the data is there and everybody is either a limited liability company or self-employed. Now, if you are starting with more than one founder, or you want an investor in, then there's a very important questions about, so what is the meaning behind the founders agreement, and how the shares are being split between the founders, and should you do 50-50 or not? And this one I wanted to put in the presentation in. So what you would do if you are starting up and you have more than one founder. And first one is why is that you can describe the core roles of each founder. If you are starting a business with your business founders, then you can set already in paper, not just orally, but in paper. So who is doing what and how much, and what does each founder expect from others? And usually this is that you form the team under many competencies, that you will not be 3 software developers starting a business, but usually a business developer, an IT, or like a business developer specialist who is in charge of engineering, and then the third one, say design or something, and that is what you should put down on paper. And it very greatly protects founder interests in case of dispute, because once you start making money, then the problems usually arise. Because until you start making money, everyone's on the same side, but once you start making money, then the co-founders issues and co-founders disputes are very common. And the good news is that once you set all these things on paper, it ensures that your company is ready for the first investor. And then, a question, so when I would have to sign this founders agreement? And the answer is as soon as possible. If you are more than one founder, then you must be talking about these questions even before registering the company, because the earlier you set it, then the greater chance of you surviving the founders' disputes. And here the crucial points that you need to agree upon, and these ones go also if you are the only founder, then you must take into account that all the intellectual property is now company's property, not your founder's personal. And by intellectual property, it's basically everything: inventions, patents, trademarks, trade names, where any such rights are obtained or enhanced. So everything which you now do, it will be a part of the company's property. And if you leave, if you leave the company, then all of your intellectual property will remain at the company. And this is crucial. If you have business founders, and if you are starting a business with someone else who is in charge of product development, then know that all of IP, it will belong to the company, and he or she needs to sign on that. This is the number one important point, and if you cannot get past this one, then it's already figuring some sort of a dispute early. And then more crucial points that you need to set is the value of each founder's investment so far, the shareholding in percentage of each founder, and then the changes in the founder's team. So what happens if a founder leaves because either doesn't want to continue on, or you are just freely leaving? Then usually there are three ways how the founders can leave. Is that the founder is obliged to sell shares to other co-founders at either a fixed price, which you can set at the start, a market price, or the third one, which is a big discount, which works as a security net that your co-founders cannot leave very easily. For example, if your market price of the shares are, say, 100,000 euros, then the big discount would be like, say, 5,000 euros, and the founder is leaving, and the shareholding then is distributed among the rest of the founders. Now, very importantly, what you have to think about, and now the legislation just changed, is the so-called room for issuing shares to employees, or how you would sign option contracts with your employees. So this one means that if you have an outstanding employee for 4 years, then after 4 years, that employee will receive a percentage of the company's shares at today's price. So if today's price of these shares are 50,000 euros, then for startups, 4 years can grow exponentially, and these 50,000 could be worth €1 million. And then the founder would just, in the case of exit or an IPO or some sense, then the founders, then these employees would have 1 million minus 50,000, which is 950,000. And this is exactly what happened to TransferWise, which is the latest big Estonian unicorn. And you can read that TransferWise just minted 33 new millionaires who had option contracts, or these X percentage worth up for 50,000 or something more in the market price. Or once an IPO comes in, then all of these existing shareholders, they are being given the current market price. So you are receiving shares at 4 years off, which normally grow, well, exponentially. And this is everything this is like the new normal, that you issue shares to your employees. Now, the crucial points behind this is that there are this section of, if you even have 51% of the votes, you cannot isn't enough decision making because this is the absolute majority. The absolute majority that you can make essential decision making, which means that if you have just the normal majority, if you have 51% of the votes, you cannot still decide on amendments to articles of association, of termination, on continuation or suspension, or renewal of activities or reorganization, because in order to make these amendments to the company, you must have 66% of the votes represented at the meeting, and normally at the meeting are 100% shareholders in. So which means that if you will be 51 and 49, that 51 cannot still change articles of association, cannot decide for termination and such. But normal decision making is that you have more than 50% of the votes, more than one half. But take into account that 50% plus one, not 50-50, because if you have a 50-50 with your co-founder, that means that none of the shareholders have a majority, and you will lock in your decisions which you cannot agree upon. And for example, if one of the founders wanted to change the director or another director and the other didn't, then the vote wouldn't go through. But don't be scared about running 50% companies, because there are very many cases when 50-50, they are, for example, the most profitable Latvian manufacturing company, Mikrotīkls, they have two founders, which is 50-50. There is the business developer and the CTO, and they have a 50-50 company, and they have a net profit yearly about 60 million, and they still have 50-50 without any other investors. Or how my friends did it, they distributed the company between four of the founders. It's 25-25, and then it's 25 plus one vote, or 25.03%, and 25 minus one vote. And the majority of the shareholdings, that person is also the head of management board. And this one, you can think around how you're splitting up the company, because in order to make any decisions, you must get the majority of the votes. 50-50 is not enough. So if you do 40-60, then, or like 51-49, that is a bit better, because usually you know who is more invested into the company, then that person also should have the majority. And that is okay, because you still receive 49% of the company and the dividends and everything. And normally the founders agree that more of the majority, not only 51%, but even 75 or 90%, are required at any alienation of shares or any amendments to the company's board, articles of incorporation, share capital, and any demergers and acquisitions. Because even if the company states that this requires 2/3, and the law says, for example, the board 51%, then you can still write in the articles of association, or the so-called statutes, company statutes, you can write in that the shares need to be present at the meeting more than set in law, that 51% is not enough, for example, to change the board, but 80% should be enough, and this is up to you. And normally this is all, normally trust prevails everything, but once you cannot agree on essential issues with the rest of the co-founders, then you should try again, because you need to be present in taking into account that all of the founders are on the same page. But if you cannot agree, then you can only go to court. And usually to court goes, at least Latvian cases that I know, they go because of the intellectual property thing. Because once the intellectual property is in danger, and the existing co-founder left, and then someone else took the place, and the existing employee started a company, someone else, and doing something different, then there have been cases of court. But normally, if you cannot agree on essential issues, then you should try again, or you should try mediation or just something, because if you are in fight with your business partner, then all of the business is in grave danger. Now, lastly, about the safety nets, the good news is that the founders' agreement, the public part, and all articles of incorporation are public information, so everybody can check. You can go up to, I will write on chat, info.ur.gov.lv. By the way, I can read the chat as well on my windows here. And if you have any questions that you don't want to put in, if you don't want to say it out loud, you can write the questions from the right side in the chat. So it is insane that in Latvia, in info.ur.gov.lv, everybody can check any company's statutes and download them. Now it's all public for the second year. Now, the good news is that the state notaries, they check statutes and they do not register illegal sections. So if you have an investor who wants to scam you, I don't know if some things happen, but still they know that at least the state notaries check all of the cases which they're being put in, and they don't register illegal sections at the articles of association, or even they cannot change the existing shareholders if there's not the full process and notary decisions and everything put in. And these, because of the statutes, you can know that these essential issues, they're registered, because if it's by default, then the statutes are not long. But if there's a four-pounder team, then there's very nice examples of how statutes are being made by companies. For example, to liquidate the company, 100% of votes are required. And now that altering a company is only possible with a sworn notary certificate, because Latvia, it's very, I have been having feedback that Latvia is very bureaucratic, but at least I feel safe in Latvia because I know that my company cannot be raided, or someone cannot forge my signature, that someone will not take my company behind of me, because everything happens either at the sworn notary or with the secure e-signature, this ieparaksts. And I understood that you will have legal help as well on how to set everything up. And don't share anyone your ieparaksts, because that is very, well, keep it secure. Yes, so that reduces the risks of scams very much. Now, a few things to note in is that even if you have a budget of 10,000 euros, that founders agreement draft by the best sworn attorney in town, it will not be so-called 100% safe, because still the issues between co-founders can arise, and it is very similar to the marriage contract, because the marriage contract also do not get you in all of the cases protected, because there are other cases which can intervene. And the second one is that imagine if you're co-founders and you start fighting, if your co-founders are your siblings in childhood, you often fight, sometimes until blood, but you then talk the issues through and forgive each other because you're stuck together for a long time. Now, the next one, before I wanted to tell about the tax optimization, what you need to think. Do we have any questions on this information so far, which we have got? You can speak out loud or write in chat.
Maybe someone has, yes, a question or a story, maybe, if they have registered a company already, if they have done it together with someone, or maybe that's an issue because you feel like you're stuck alone and you would like to do it with someone.
I would like to ask a question.
Yeah.
From my case, I have registered a company in Latvia with one of my Latvian friends. And since we registered, but in the beginning we were thinking, okay, we will do business. We had some plans. We registered the company, and then something happens, and then we stopped. So this company is still registered 4 years ago. And what can happen in this case? Like, and the share is 50-50.
Do you mean by 4 years? What happens later with the company, or what? Sorry.
4 years ago we registered, but we didn't do any business, any
Yeah, you must talk to the accountant who can file you empty reports, and this minimum tax in Latvia is 50 euros per year, and this one you should definitely do, because at least file the annual reports.
My friend said that he entered zero income, like business activity, every year, and we are not paying any taxes. So
you should pay 50 euros per year, which is the minimum. Be very careful.
Mm-hmm. So in this case, if we are not closing the company, like maybe government will take some actions or not?
No, but you must file the annual reports and have an accountant do that, because if you don't, then the government can take actions and close the company and put you on the risk list, because there are these mandatory reports which every company must file.
Mm-hmm.
Every year.
Yes, I mean, how do we call this Ahmad person or what in Latvian?
Well, this loceklis or board member.
Okay, no, it's like without accountant, you yourself cannot fill that form, right?
No, it's too tough, yeah, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Okay, understood.
Yeah, but if it is empty, then the accountants can do that pretty quickly, and the fees will not be so high. Because if for 4 years you don't have anything, then that will be okay.
Okay, no, maybe soon we will start something, but yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I see more questions. Should startup register a company for begin? That is not an obligation. You should register a company once you know that you will need it, definitely. Because if you have investors or if you have clients waiting for your project, then you must register the company. But until then, I would say that you don't register the company. And now from Cesar's, I was told some time ago that as a foreigner, you need a Latvian partner to register a company. This is not true, because you can have even non-resident of Latvia as a founder of the company. You just must go to a sworn notary in Latvia and certify your paperwork. But this is, you don't have to have a Latvian citizen on the company as well. Definitely, no, you don't need to have so.
And for this one, I'll just repeat it, because maybe someone didn't hear in the beginning. If you are interested in registering your company after this information that you hear, or maybe you had this idea before, please do contact me, because we have lawyers that really can help you to kind of like guide you through this. So yes, I will agree with Dāvis on this one. Yeah. So if you do wish, then just hit me up, send me an email, and I'll try to help you.
Yes, that is nice that you have help. Okay, then the last point which I wanted to go through is about tax and how to set tax up. And this one can get a bit messy at some points, but this is definitely what you should take into account. And the first note is the tax optimization, legal optimization. It is not tax avoidance, because many have been connotated this optimization with something illegal or something which you're not allowed to do. Then legal optimization, it is not avoidance, and you should even register and optimize as you'd like to. So the tax optimization for small service-oriented businesses until 25,000 euros turnover per year, then again, if you are wanting to create a small, well, not small, but service-oriented business, is it consulting? Is it graphic design? Is it copywriting? Something which you sell as a service to, then the best form currently it is the micro enterprise tax form. Only self-employed can apply the new micro enterprise tax form. You cannot be a limited liability company to apply the tax form. And then the tax, it's 25% from turnover, simple, until 25,000 euros and more. If you are grossing more than 25,000 euros, then the tax above 25,000, it's 40%. So I would advise to optimize until 25,000 for the micro enterprise tax. If you Google, then you should see the previous information that there was 720 euros maximum net salary, but that is gone. That is no more. The max ceiling is no more there. Now, if you register self-employed with micro enterprise tax form, you cannot obtain VAT. And still, nota bene is that if you register the micro enterprise tax, then all the tax benefits from other employers, they are lost. So be careful if you're working at multiple places, then your most important salary place, it will be taxed full. And the question I see, what do you mean cannot obtain VAT? Then if you have micro enterprise tax, you cannot get the VAT number. Then you must go either for full self-employed or the SIA or LLC way, but you cannot register VAT currently for micro enterprise tax forms. And benefit with VAT number, this one should go to the accountants, but if you are trading with other businesses, not private individuals, then you should get the VAT. But if you're trading mostly with non-business clients, then you can not have VAT. But the benefit is it depends on case by case whether it's not good or whether it is there or it is not there. Now, how this looks in numbers. For example, your turnover for this year is 25,000. I do see a question, and you can register self-employed at any point in the year. Yes, you can register it, and the registration takes about 2 days. Well, for micro enterprise, it's 5 working days because the micro enterprise are assigned manually, but it's still 5 working days. So if you register now, the next week after the bank holidays, you will have the micro enterprise tax form. And the micro enterprise tax, so if you have 25,000 in your service business, which is about 2,000 per month, then 25% it will be taxed. And the maximum which you can net after this micro enterprise tax, it is a decent 1,562 euros per month, which is a decent amount. Because previously the limit was 720, which was restricting, but now the maximum income after micro enterprise tax, it is 1,500 per month, which is decent. And if you earn more than this, then tax will be 40%, and 40%, that is too much. Then you just go for LLC right away. Now, nota bene, that only one person can be employed at only one micro enterprise status. You cannot be an employee of a micro enterprise company and a micro enterprise anymore. And the 25,000 turnover ceiling, it gets proportionally less once you register in Q2 or Q3 or Q4. For example, if you register in Q3, then you will only have this 25% turnover ceiling, only a half of 25,000, because you cannot register in December and put 25,000 through the company. That is not possible. And be very careful with optimizing, because if you have only one client, it means that if you only issue invoices to one person, then you must get another client. Else, if the tax office knocks your door, they can tell that you have been effectively employed at the company, and then they will calculate all the salary taxes. And the salary taxes are the highest in Latvia as in all of the Northern Europe, and you don't want that. So if you are going for the micro enterprise tax way, and if you are going for the self-employed way or a SIA way, LLC way, make sure that you have at least 2 clients per year, because one client, it is very risky that you can be audited, and then that can count as not a contracted relationship, but as an employed relationship. Now that was about the self-employed with micro enterprise tax form. So 25% until 25,000, and you cannot get VAT. And now the full self-employed tax, the effective tax rate is at least 29% from profit. So if your profit is 1,000, you would pay 219, and that is minimum, because the minimum kicks in like you must get, well, the higher your income goes, the less effective tax you pay, because there's a fixed part of that tax, which I will explain in the next slide. So the first tier is if your profit is less than 500 euros, then the tax will be about 25%. But I wouldn't advise you to project that you will only get less than 500 euros per month every year. and every month. Now the tax rate between 500 and 1,200 euros, it is the lower it is, the higher the tax. So be very careful, because if your income is only like 510 euros, you will pay effectively about 45% of that in taxes. Because I want this slide, because if your profit is at least 500 euros, you must pay a minimum social tax of 155 euros. And this is why the lower your income, the more you feel these 155. This is very important. And the more you earn, for example, more than 1,200 euros, then you don't feel these 155 anymore. And then your tax converges to about 30%, but still 30%. So that is still high. For example, if your income is 2,000 euros, your expenses is 1,000 euros. From the 1,000, you would still pay about 33% in taxes every 3 months. And your max expenses can be 80% from turnover. It means you cannot have you cannot have expenses meeting up with your income. And be careful of this one. So if you're self-employed, then if you gross more than 500 euros profit, then you must pay the minimum social taxes 155. Now, this one is about the self-employed. So the best tax optimization, which is the LLC with at least 2,000 current starting capital and extraordinary dividends and statutes, because until 2,500 monthly turnover in your company, you don't need, there is no requirement for a minimum salary, which means that you can only pay dividends. And I will tell how great the taxes of dividends. And if you're grossing more than 2,500 euros, then you'll need to have a 500 euros gross monthly salary to one employee. It can be a director, it can be an employee or something like that. And now the corporate income tax, the CIT, on net profit is 0% if you don't distribute dividends. If you keep money inside the company or you spend it on the business expense, meaning company car, anything related to computers or phones, internet, renting out of offices, then you don't pay tax on that. You can have net profit and pay 0% in tax if you don't distribute dividends. And corporate income tax on net profit, it's 20% only once you distribute dividends, 20% from profit. Previously, we were talking about how the minimum for self-employed is 30%. So if you register an LLC, you save 50% in taxes. Well, 50% more from 20%, but from 30%, it's like 1/3. So you're saving 1/3 in taxes, definitely. And extraordinary dividends means that you can pay dividends without any loans or some schemes up to 4 times per year. So up to 85% from the net profit in the previous period, you can distribute as net dividend up to every 3 months. But be very careful, because if you're here optimizing for dividends, the government and the European Commission, they are not happy that your company is paying dividends. They think that your company is doing too well. And this means that you could be disqualified from EU fund grant competitions or similar support. Because if once you read the terms and conditions between some Euro fund grant competitions where you can get money, then many of them tell that if your company has distributed dividends, then you cannot apply for. So be careful with optimizing in this sense as well. So the bottom line is 20% once you distribute net profit as dividends, which means that, for example, if your net profit in this year it's 1 million, then 20% corporate income tax, it will be 200,000. And after tax, it will be 800,000 euros in your bank account. And I have been having questions. So Dāvis, but hey, personal income tax, because what about that on my dividends? And in Latvia, same as in Estonia, your personal income tax is 0% on your own dividends from the companies that you make, because this is the best thing there is currently. It might change in the next 5 years or so, because this is too good to be true, because if you don't have any employees and you are a sole entrepreneur, you're paying 20% tax, and this is the lowest which you can get, and that is 20% from profit. So after all the expenses, you just take out dividends, and only then you pay 20%, and this is the best there is. Now, there's a point that if you cannot wait until the dividends, if your cash flow doesn't allow, then you can lend the money from the company to the shareholder. You can have this presentation, and I have put in this points for your accountant, that if the company lends to the shareholder up to 1 year, then that process, that process is not taxed, and you can later, after the period, you don't pay back the loan and you don't distribute the dividend. You just count as if the loan is the dividend, and that's it. How that looks like in real world. This is a software development company for one of my friends. You see the net profit, it's 38,000 euros in 2019, which is a very nice and decent profit for the year. For this is for the LLC, for the company. But what you see on this company, if you dig deeper, is that this loan to the shareholders, it's 28,000. So they have 38 net profit. But from that, the money, they don't wait until the dividends, and they just lend the money until you can distribute dividends in the next year, because normally the dividends are distributed once per year.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Still, in this case, company pays this corporate income tax, right? I mean, CIT. If you lend money to shareholder, still you pay CIT.
Yes, this after 1 year. You don't pay it right away, but you must close this contract, this loan after 1 year, because usually that is counted as dividends, and then it's then you pay CIT.
And how about if you have share in company, but let's say you are not working there and officially working in some other companies, only you just get dividends from there, and that's it. How about taxations? Like how? I mean, did you get my question? Or?
Not exactly, but if you're working in multiple places, yes, if you are a shareholder, then only shareholders can get dividends. If you're not the shareholder of the company, then you can only get salary, and salary taxes are 43% about.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, this one's only if you have the status as a shareholder.
Okay.
The question, does that mean they don't pay any salary? Yes. Because well, you need to pay a salary, full salary, 500 euros gross. The minimum salary in Latvia now it's 500 euros plus employer's social tax per month. Then you pay the minimum salary of 500 euros gross, and the rest you can lend until dividends. Yes, this is the best possible scheme there is now, legal, and everybody does that. And I'm trying to file a blog article about this one, and I still haven't done it, but I want to tell that this is the best there is, and everyone should optimize. For example, this one, my friend who lends the money as well until dividends, this one, I didn't talk to him about anything. I just checked his company and how he's doing, and this is what the accountants will tell you as well. Now, there are restrictions for these extraordinary dividends, is that net profit is mandatory. So you must have the dividends or loan that will later turn into salary with extreme taxes if you don't have any net profit. And you must calculate very, very carefully. Leave some buffer of money. For example, if your profit is 1,000, maybe leave 25%. That will be safer than if you just lend out all of the money minus 20% of your net profit. Now, if your company has paid dividends, then you could be qualified from EU fund grant competitions. This one I'm repeating again, but be very careful, because this one, if you plan to get like 5,000 or 10,000 euro grant, then be careful if your company can be there. And now there's time for questions. We still have like 5 minutes left, I think even more than that. But what other questions we have at this point? And this is the end, which I wanted to tell you about. How is the bigger picture? How is the co-founders agreement? And this presentation you will have in full, 62 slides. I will stop sharing my screen and I will show you my face.
I can see we already have 2 questions. I know you can see them too.
Yes, now I'm back back in space. Yes, so bottom line, I'm suggesting it's always better to be a CR rather than self-employed. Yes, but that is only in the case once you make more than, say, what? Well, 400 euros per month, maybe you don't make a CI, you remain with the self-employed. But if you own and make a decent living, then CI it's always better because of all of the tax schemes, legal tax optimization. Because the minimum you go, yes, thank you. Because the minimum you can go lowest or self-employed, it's 30%. And dividends it's 20%, and the CI it's more serious, and then you can start building history, and you can build and later buy money and buy a car on the company and these things.
I have a question.
Yep.
Thanks for your presentation. I would like to make sure one thing for me. If I open LLC with no minimum capital requirement and don't have, it's just me, just one person, okay? And there is no income within a few months or even a year, should I pay taxes?
No.
No.
In the first year, the minimum taxes of 50 euros, it's not there. So if you register in the first year, you can have a completely empty company without any taxes. You must pay taxes once you gross more than 2,500, or the so-called 5 times the minimum salary in Latvia. Previously, it was 430. If you are Googling around, now it's 500. So 5 times 500 is 2,500. And only there you have to pay the minimum 50 euros. But the 50 euros per year, this is starting from the second year. So if you register a company in 2021, then there is no minimum tax. But if you still go on in 2022 and it's still empty and you don't launch your business, then the minimum tax is 50 euros per year, 50.
And there is also one question about like if I open this LLC, how easy or difficult to get bank account, or what's the difficulties on this issue?
Yeah, if you're a resident of Latvia and you live here.
I am not resident.
Then
I have a temporary residence. I mean, each year.
That counts. Yeah, that counts. If you do have the ID card of Latvia and you're living here, then the bank account is about 1 month. Swedbank charges, I think, 300 euros for the background check. This is a pain because currently the local banks, they're over-regulated, because if you're not a citizen, now banks are scared of you. But if you prove everything, that you are living here, that you are factory, or that your self-services and everything that is here, then you will get the bank account. It just takes about 2 to 4 weeks for this LLC. And
of course, that there is difficulties on these issues for like I'm like each year I renew my residence. It's a temporary residence.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. So yes, yeah, that's why I asked you. That's correct. It has some difficulties, yeah. And about the registration issue, like if I don't have my own property and I rent it, where to register a company, how to do this one?
Yes, try talking with the real estate and with the real estate owner, and try get him or her to agree to registering your company at your address, because it's best if your legal address is where you are physically and where you can be contacted. But if the owner of the real estate don't agree on you registering the company there, then you can look around and ask whether there's some virtual office space providers, because there can be then you need to have a mailbox address consent on registration or some sort of like that. But if you talk with the owner of the real estate, then normally they do agree.
So does it mean that, for example, they may not agree? What they may fear them not to agree about this issue, registering, for example, company in their address?
Yeah, there is nothing, because they don't
Nothing.
get, they don't get any more higher taxes. Nothing is like that for them. They
Okay.
just want to tell us, no, there will be some more inspection on me, but that is not true.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much. And
Yeah.
about this, if they don't agree about the virtual places, do you know where I can?
Regus.lv, these
Regus
are,
LV?
yeah. Like I have been knowing that many them are help, and there are some of the places, but it's, yeah, then you can rent a virtual office space about that I have had experience, but normally yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Some more questions about setting up or this bigger picture or LLC versus self-employed? Maybe I didn't tell something that you wanted to hear.
Can you see the other question in the chat?
Which one?
From
Yes. Now, is a self-employed status necessary for registered microenterprise? Yes, because if you now register a new microenterprise, you can only be a self-employed, which means that if you want to sign up on eds.vid.go, it's all there. Tax. You must go on the electronic tax declaration system and apply at the same time for self-employed with a microenterprise tax. This is a tick in the tax form that you tell that you want to become both self-employed and a microenterprise taxpayer. So if you're running a service business, like I am, for example, you can run it with a microenterprise tax.
I actually have a question here myself.
Yeah.
Can you be self-employed with a microenterprise tax, but also be employed full-time?
Yep.
But does that affect you in the place where you are employed in your?
A bit, yes, because if you are a microenterprise taxpayer, then your tax benefits are no longer there, because we have been calculating previously that if one of my previous friends opened a microenterprise, his net salary from his other workplace would be 200 euros per month less, because all the tax benefits for having your children or disabled persons on your name, these are lost. But if you don't have any tax benefits, then the difference is only like 20 euros per month. If you register as a self-employed microenterprise tax, then if you don't have any other benefits, then your other employment place will pay about 20 euros less.
Yeah, well, this is not my space to kind of share the stories, but I was actually suffering from this because I had an enterprise on my name that had a microenterprise tax regime, but also was employed. So for like 6 months, I could not do anything because you have to wait until the end of the calendar year. Is that right?
Yes, for LLCs.
Yeah.
But now if you want, you can stop the microenterprise tax right away by telling the tax office, but then you will be halted from applying for 2 years. So you kind of just jump on and off microenterprise tax. It is 2 years now that you are left with the company there as a microenterprise.
Very good. Do we have some other questions maybe? I see Vladimir asks again.
Yes, how long is this without any revenue? For 1 year, because if you don't have any revenue per year, then you are being canceled this microenterprise tax. So this one you register, and even, I don't know, issue an invoice to your friend or something for like 100 euros and declare that. And because if you just declare zeros, because the declaration period for microenterprise, it's every 3 months, then you will get halted the microenterprise tax status. But if you issue an invoice for 100 euros to somebody, pay 25% from that, then that will be enough. The prerequisites to register a SIA. Everyone can register a SIA in Latvia. The prerequisite is that you are not banned from doing so. You're not in the black list of State Revenue Office, which is very rare. So that is the only requisite, and you can register. Minimum clients for the same for LLC, because if you have only one client and you are the only one who is working there, then also that can be counted as illegal optimization. Because if you are the only employee at a SIA and you're working and you're contracted with an employer and you have only once they are paying for your services, the tax office can tell that you're effectively employed there, and then they will pay all the taxes. And this is a risk which you shouldn't get to. And now tax optimization for mājražošana, or this food preparation at home. Well, the same with SIA, because nothing else I would tell. Maybe if your expenses are really low, then you could go for micro enterprise tax. But if your products which you make the expenses are high, then the same would be there, that the micro enterprise tax is not good, because once you have expenses, the micro enterprise tax, it's not good. Because paying 25% from whole turnover, it is much more expensive than paying 20% from profit in the case of dividends. Yes, you don't have to collect VAT until 40,000 per year, 40,000 euros per any 12 months. That is the limit until which you can not obliged to register for VAT. And if you're selling to private entities, then you must run away from VAT because VAT, it only is beneficial once you get clients who are businesses, because businesses deal without VAT as if there was no VAT. But this one was interesting for me as well, because I didn't see any invoice which was out there without VAT. But once I registered my micro enterprise in 2015, the first invoice I've written was without VAT. So it was just something like 500 or something euros and VAT 0, so nothing there. And the accountants goes that through, that is normal, because you are used to seeing invoices with VAT, but that is only if the businesses are big and they are more than 40,000 per 12 months, and then they know that they cannot get away with VAT. But if your clients are personal clients, then VAT is something which you don't want. Self-employed status at the vid. Just a second. In Latvian, this one page, it's the micro enterprise, but this is the self-employed entities. And there you can try with Google Translate to see about getting more information on self-employed status. But normally you also get an accountant and ask Linda for accounting help. And you can talk all these issues through with an accountant. I just set up the bigger picture, how you pay the 29%, which is income tax, which is social security for, which is the minimum social security tax, which is the minimum for pension guarantees. Everything is in one big, pile. But then the accountants, they do everything out, but it converges to about 30%. And what if there is income from other countries outside EU? Then the limit is not there. If you are selling services to outside EU countries, then VAT is never there. And then you can sell services for more, say even 100,000 euros. Nice question. VAT I didn't put inside the VAT because then it would get a bit too messy. But if you are dealing with these questions, then the accountant is a #1 person where you would go and check everything with VAT, whether or not it is nice for you. Any other tips to think about? See, international customers. Well, if you can compete, the best is that Latvia is a so-called low expense country, and here it is more cheaper to live than in the Western countries. So if you are living here and you have your employees here and everything is here and you're making your products here, but you're exporting to the West, then that is a sweet spot. I would tell, because of all these differences in costs, they are felt greatly. For example, advertising cost in Berlin or advertising cost in Riga, the prices are so much different, because if you're, I don't know, running Facebook ads, then you can reach Rigans much more cheaply than you can reach people in Berlin. The only tip is to not lose to the competition. And then a question, how to get the full presentation. I will send through Linda all the slides, and then you can go through again, read again, and check.
Yes, about the presentation, just like always, I'll send like a little let's say like a little summary note, but just like a thank you note for joining this session, and then I'll attach, you will see Dāvis' presentation. Yes, and also we have just started. I'm sorry, yes, kids are leaving to their football practice. And on Fridays, we have started publishing the recordings that we have made so far of each presentation. So last Friday, our first session from April 8th was published, and consequently, we will do that every Friday. So even though you haven't been able to join us live, then you will be able to see the presentation. But still, those who are here live, they have the disadvantage of hearing it first. Yeah, so this Friday, the second session that we had with Arne Stahls will be published, and so on. Yes, but also you will have the access to the presentation.
Yep. And then a question, is it okay to ignore Latvian banks? To start, yes. But once you go down the road, it is always better that if your bank's legal address is at the same place where your company is registered at, because TransferWise, Revolut, and those, they're not registered in Latvia. And for example, Stripe and PayPal, they want that your bank is on the same legal address country where your company is registered. So SIA, that is a Latvia entity, you should have a Latvia bank in this rate down the road. Again, if you should move towards Latvian banks, at least not to start, or if you're running a small startup business and you're just starting up, then TransferWise business is okay, but their address is in either Belgium or Germany. And once, for example, you start mixing up with Stripe, if you want to collect money from your customers' MasterCard or Visa card, or if you want to get money from PayPal and move money from PayPal outside your business account, then local banks always prevail. Any question?
About last question, maybe, I don't know.
Yep.
EU grant funding. You said that if you distribute dividends, then you may not get benefit from such fundings. So an example, like for example, you started your company, it's running, but at some point, I guess you need to distribute the dividends, right?
Yeah.
I mean, then how can you apply for EU grant fundings if you are running a few years and without distributing the dividends?
Well, you can always pay salary to yourself. that is okay. That doesn't count as dividends, but salary tax are 2 times the dividends tax. But this is the same, so you can check this you can check the terms and conditions and see whether or not your company can be paid dividends, because if not, then you should check that you can only pay the minimum salary or just any salary. But know that every 1,000 you pay out a salary, it will be about 800 in taxes, which is insane. Well, not insane, but very, very high. Whereas dividends, every 1,000, it is 215 dividends tax, which is much better.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. I do have a question in private. Is there any extra tax for import-export companies? No. Okay, depends. If you are importing from outside the EU, then yes, there is about 2% customs tax and VAT. But if you are not importing from outside the EU, then it's okay. But if you are importing from outside the EU, then yes, there's VAT plus customs tax. And customs tax, it's between 0.5% and 2%. It depends on what you get. But then you should apply for VAT right away. And even if you're selling to private persons, then you should count as if you were paying on, as if you were a VAT payer. Oh, thank you.
I'm so sorry. I'm having a family situation here at the very end. I wanted to end it beautifully. Maybe we have another question while I have a moment.
Yeah. No, there's mentioned articles. I will. Here are some of the blogs, but I am wanting to write articles in Latvian language that you can then Google translate, which will be my name and surname.lv, but I haven't gotten there yet because of all the things to do. But this one will be about how to get in tax, how to get in person in tax, or how to reach out to tax office the best, and all these articles, which I know answers to. But you can run through the presentation in my email. It's name at my surname.lv. And yes.
Okay, well, thank you so much for the patience. It was unexpected. So I really do hope that all the questions got answered. We are a bit over the time, and I know the time is important. Do we have any last question, maybe?
Thank you for feedback.
That's great. Yes, I'm really glad to see all the thank yous, because we really do try to get like the right information. Because obviously about very specific tips on how to register the company. It's I know it's sometimes very important for you guys, but it's also easier to find this kind of information. As I said, you can definitely email me, but then to have this all kind of impression of how it is here in Latvia, then I'm very glad that we had Dāvis with us. I see people are leaving, but before all of you leave, we have our next session on 5th of May, which is Wednesday, and a bit unusual. We will have a session about creating and testing ideas, and I really do hope to see you all there. So big thank to Dāvis, and thank you to everyone who joined today. I really did find this session very, very valuable as well, myself, and I hope everyone really takes something for themselves or for their companies or future companies today. So thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
I will stay until the end, until everyone leaves, if you have any specific question, but thank you so much and goodbye.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye. Enjoy and have a nice day.